Dean E. Campbell, born in 1926 in Villa Grove, Illinois. We lived on a farm until I was 4. It was 1930. We moved off because of the Depression. It got us, wiped us out. My dad lost his job at a railroad, and we had to move off the farm. It was sold. And we moved to Fort Dodge, Iowa. And I grew up there. Everybody was not doing very well. Somewhere they were employed, but we weren't making any good money. And there were a lot of unemployed people, and we were all happy when Roosevelt won the election and got in there. They had WPA work in the parks and roads and places. And that's what the men worked at. It was just a subsistence living. We had the basic necessities, and that's about it. Nobody. We had a storekeeper, Dino Castagnoli, and he had some vacant lots behind the store. And we were over there ganged up. I don't know what we were doing, but a lot of us there. Somebody showed up and said that the Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor. And we thought, oh boy, we'll really give them a business. And it turned out that they had sank a lot of our ships there, battleships and others. And it was a terrible defeat for us. I had been planning on joining the Navy when I was old enough because my father was in the Navy in World War I. And he talked about the Navy like it was something great. And he didn't see any war. The war is the bad part. My friend who lived on a farm, he moved off the farm for the same reason we did. We joined the Navy together. We got sworn in on August the 1st in Des Moines in the old Federal Building. And so that was my beginning in the Navy. When we got sworn in, we got on the Rock Island to Minneapolis, and then the Great Northern out to Farragut, Idaho. And we went to boot camp there. And I worked in the mess hall during the day. I just had to serve food, that's all. And my name was on the board that I was going to Great Lakes to the Torpedoman school. I learned all the working parts in the Torpedo, which I think they said there were over 5,000 parts. So we studied each part separately until we had studied the entire Torpedo. And by the time we got through there, we were pretty well versed in the workings of the Torpedo. We studied all the design of the submarine, all the fixtures in it. We didn't study the computer. That was the top secret at the time. We didn't even know about it. I never heard of it. But we had the main engines, the main motors, and basically we found out just how that submarine worked. When we graduated, there was a young fella that I had made friends with, Dwayne Board, and some others. They were volunteering for submarines. Told me how to get double pay and all this and that. So I went ahead and volunteered. I thought I wouldn't get it anyway. God, if I didn't get it, they didn't even give me a physical. Just set me out there and, oh God. I thought, oh mercy, After we graduated from submarine school, we went into an outgoing unit. Others went to new construction and wherever they volunteered to go. And I had volunteered to go to sea, which was why I joined the Navy. I'd been in there in the Navy in schools and training for about a year. And I thought the war was going to be over before I ever see it. I heard somebody say that somebody had volunteered for new construction, And he was gone in about a couple of days to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So I said, I think I'll go that route. I can't get out of here. Well, I went to Portsmouth. I and another California boy named Jim Elliott, and we went up to Portsmouth, and they welcomed us aboard the USS Senate. USS Senate is a submarine, the SS-408. It was still building while I was up at Portsmouth. It was launched and in commission, but they were installing engines and different interior machinery and stuff, and so I stayed in the barracks for about a month. And it was about the 1st of September I went aboard and went to sea. We put it to the sea trials. You have to go pass certain tests before the Navy will accept it. And we took it out to sea every day, and finally about the end of September we got everything working right, and the Navy accepted it, and we were ready to go to sea. And we went down to Bonin Islands, Maryland, where we operated there with a scientist that they had installed a bathymeter that measured the water temperature at different depths. And his purpose was to read the cold layers of water way down there in case we got caught by a destroyer. We'd get below that cold layer of water. It's also dense, much denser, and there's sound waves that they send down to find us that bounce off that cold water. And later on it saved our lives. From there we went to the Panama Canal, went through the canal. I think we stayed overnight and took on torpedoes. Then we went from there to Pearl Harbor. We got the radar installed. We went from there to Midway Island. We took on some more torpedoes there. And from there, our first patrol was at the Bonin Islands. But we went up there, Japanese had a radar ship equipped with radar and another escort vessel. And we went up there, and we had a load of newly developed sonic torpedoes. They're small, about 5 foot long, and they're electric, battery operated. And we went up there and tested those. Torpedoes had a bug in them, and they wouldn't hit. And after about a week, one of them exploded. And when the captain stuck the periscope up, it had hit the escort. We wanted the other guy with the radar. The B-29s were flying over that island. It was right in the path to Japan. That's why we wanted to sink them. So we went up on the surface, and they manned the guns. I was in the after battery pushing shells up. And they're heavy, about 105 pounds. In a casing, push them up through a tube with a ramrod. But anyway, they went up there and sunk that fellow with gunfire. In the after torpedo room where I slept, they had the torpedoes along the bulkhead and a bunk right over them. And I slept on the top bunk right over one of the torpedoes. Early one morning, a boat went into a real steep dive. And I was head down, feet up, hanging on, and a couple of bombs went off. And oh boy, everybody was complaining about what a lousy dive, so steep, And when those bombs went off, oh, what a good dive. I think it was on our third patrol that we fired 6 torpedoes directly at a destroyer, right off the coast of Japan. And he must have had his sound gear on and heard them coming, because he knew right where they were, and he went right down between them after us. We dove deep when he did turn to come after us, and we went down to 600 feet. Captain said, take her deeper. That was our tested pressure. And nothing gave way, so we went deeper until the captain was satisfied, and that guy got right on top of us. And fortunately for us, he couldn't find us below that cold layer of water. So we got away. He made about 3 passes over us, and the last time he went over us, he dropped 1 net charge and left. We all holding our breath. Believe me, that was a close call. That destroyer, if they find you down there, you're finished. We were in a lot of accidents, you know, at night, and they fire on those ships. They usually have 2 or 3 escort vessels with them. The Japanese fleet, they came out one night, going down to Okinawa where our fleet was. And that night was the big night. I was sleeping in the after torpedo room. They came out just about dark, still light enough to our folks could see them. Full speed ahead, and turned south towards Okinawa. And sometime during the night, I think it was 11 o'clock, they got me out of bed and said a lookout had gotten sick, that he wanted me to come up there and replace him. As I got up to the galley, there's a passageway there, a gangway, and one of my friends stepped up and said the Japanese fleet came out. He said every kind of ship came out of there. Anyway, I said I'd go on up and look out, because I was up, you know, I was going on lookout anyway. As I got into the control room, the chief petty officer was there, chief quartermaster, and nobody else. I asked him what course we were on. He told me it wasn't 80, it was south. And asked him our speed, full speed ahead, chasing them. I said, who's on watch up there? What officer? And he told me, Mr. Roach. Oh, my heart just sank. I knew he wasn't a commander at a time like that. And I knew our officers quite well by that time. And the captain, he said, had gone to bed not to be disturbed at a time like that. And I said, what about the executive officer? Had gone to bed not to be disturbed. Here we were without a commander there in bed, chasing a Japanese fleet. I didn't know what to make out of all that, but it didn't look right to me. But I went up topside, and I wasn't up there very long. I saw a strong, what I thought was a boat wake crossing our stern. I went up and reported it, and he said he'd seen that, but he thought it was fish. Oh God, my heart just sank. I knew. Fish don't do that. Mm-hmm. How he ever imagined that was fish. You don't see anything at night up there. It's so dark. You see nothing. That was the first time in all the time that I was out there that I had seen anything at night. I was sure it was a boat wake. They'd sent a torpedo boat out there after us because we had the radio going constantly to our base, telling them the Japanese fleet was on its way south. And they have directions finders, and they can find you out there. They know your range, bearing, everything. And they track you a while. They get your course, your speed, send a torpedo boat out, and that's all he needs to work his problem. Fire on you. So I knew you better do something quick, you know. I went up and reported it again, and he again dismissed it as fish. Well, fortunately, another officer came up and relieved him. And I went up there and listened to what was going on. And yeah, sure enough, he told him everything. Look out his report that. He said he didn't think so, it was fish. I went back there to the after conning tower deck. It was not very far. And I heard Mr. Andrews, right full rudder. I went over there and looked. Here was that wavy line, about as wide as a highway. That was at the wake. And I couldn't see the bow, it's too dark up there. But I tried to judge if it was going to hit or not. And it looked for the world like it was going to hit. So I went to the other side and stood there and I just waited. I don't know what I thought, but I was scared to death. And because if it hit, it was sure death. You know? And after several seconds, what I thought it, should have hit, didn't. I talked to the portside lookout, Francis Smith, who I knew very well. He's from Lincoln, Nebraska. And he told me he had a better view of it up there, a better perspective, and he could see that it missed the bow. And we ran over the wake. And I found out since a torpedo runs 30 yards ahead of its wake. So by the time I thought it was going to hit, it already missed. And we ran over the wake. Mr. Andrews ordered clear the bridge, and we all cleared the bridge and dove the boat. And the captain and the executive officer both got out of bed, came wondered why we dove. Mr. Andrews told him he ordered it to dive. He asked him why. He said a torpedo. And that seemed to satisfy everybody. It was the last patrol we made. We had to go through a mine channel, but we had a newly developed mine detector. And that's how we got through that minefield in the channel. By the end of the war there, we had submarines and the Air Force had sunk most of their merchant fleet. About the only shipping they had left was in the Sea of Japan from the mainland. They were bringing the stuff from Russia there. It was supposed to be our ally, but they were neutral. And we got in there, we saw one of their tankers all lit up and running lights and identification lights, and they identified it as a Russian tanker carrying oil to Japan. And we had to let that one go. It was a neutral ship. But we sank several others in there. I think it was at the last of the war there. Japan's fleet had been sunk down there in Okinawa on the previous patrol. And I don't think they had anything left. But I don't know that, but we didn't see any. We'd fired most of our torpedoes by the time we had one left, I think. We like to take one back in with us just in case something gets after us. We had to go out through the northern channel. We got out of Japan, Sea of Japan about, I think, 5 days, and to drop the first atomic bomb. At first we didn't know whether to believe it or not. There's so many windy guys on there, some they might be lying. So we just waited and see. And about a week later, they dropped another one. So we got back into Saipan, and sure enough, it was real all right. And we got a couple of weeks at the rest camp on Guam. While I was in the rest camp in Guam, we were in there about 8 days. The news came about, we'd just gone to bed that night, about 10 o'clock, lights out. Men came parading through the barracks there. The war was over. That's how it ended for me.